interactive session. So those of you who are here already, please, use a device like your phone or maybe your computer. Go to menti.com and use the code 59294300. That's right. Thank you, Dave. Go to menti.com and use the code 59294300. And if you logged in, give me, right at the corner here, there's a thumbs up on Menti. Give me a thumbs up on Menti so I know you're there and you're all set up. All right, I'm seeing a thumbs up. Lovely. We're seeing people stream in. Wonderful. I'll repeat again, if you're getting your device, it can be on a phone or, like a tablet or a computer. Go to menti.com and use the code 59294300. Nice. We have quite a lot of people on Menti. It's going to be an interactive session, so I'm going to ask you a few things. You get to decide a few things because in the age of AI, we have a lot of AI tools to try. So I would love to hear where the group is at and see what we can collectively decide as a group later to explore. Okay, I'm going to begin in 1 minute. We are seeing a final stream of people coming in, and then we're going to start. If you want to get yourself a cup of water, maybe a beverage, a little bit of a snack, now is the time. Okay. So yes, for those of you who just came in, go to menti.com and use the code 59294300 and give me a thumbs up so I know you're there. Wonderful. Okay, so we are ready to begin. Just a big thank you to everybody who streamed in today afternoon. Really appreciate your interest, your curiosity, and enthusiasm. My name is Anya. I'll be your guide for today. I see someone's using an AI note taker. Wonderful. Introduction to AI tools begins well. So my name is Anya. I'm from Hatch Media House. We're the agency arm of Hatch, and we help people from different types of organizations, all the way from small to medium-sized businesses to government agencies to charities and nonprofits and individual entrepreneurs in their digital journey, whether it's design, marketing, or any form of digitalization. And we've been using AI in Media House quite a bit, not just for ourselves to do our work, but also to serve our clients. And we're very excited to share all of what we're learning or the curious things that we found. So this is the session for you to be asking all of your questions and seeing what you could explore. And so I'm going to invite you to join in and share a part of the things later. So definitely join in to Menti if you haven't yet. Use the code 59294300. Okay, so I'm going to begin. The agenda for today is I'm going to introduce a little bit of a history and landscape to AI tools. So we have a little bit of language around how to talk about some of the tools that we're seeing out there. I'm sure there's tools that you've tried that I may not have tried. I may have tried tools that you may not have tried. So it's going to be a little bit of an exchange in some moments, but at the same time, I'd love to share how to incorporate this or kickstart your exploration journey if you haven't yet, and explore different types of AI tools and see what can prompting an AI tool realistically look like and how potentially you could apply it to different things for your business or for your marketing. So we'll look at it through that lens. Okay, so for this workshop today, I'm going to invite you to stay open and stay curious. I recognize that with AI, there's a lot of challenges that we might feel as well, because is it going to replace us? Is it going to come for our jobs? Is it going to do better than I can do? All these questions that nobody really has answers to, but I'm going to invite you to set the intention to stay open and curious. Join in the chat here to share your stories or share your experience or ask your question. There is no such thing as right or wrong questions. Just ask as many questions as you want, and I'll do my best to answer as many of it. And I'm also asking that because it's going to be an interactive session, we'll see people from different perspectives, backgrounds, and walks of life. So we're going to enter the space with respect and kindness and engage actively with each other while remaining curious and open. All right, so I'm going to begin. Give me a thumbs up on Menti if you're ready to move forward and you're good to start. All right, you all have that phone at your fingertips. Wonderful. Okay, so in the realm of AI, just to kickstart some conversations around this, what AI tools have you tried? And for those of you who have just entered, if you haven't yet joined our Menti, go to menti.com and use the code 59294300. Claude, yeah. Okay, someone said Claude. That's also a good one. And over here we have ChatGPT and Canva. You've used Apollo, Claude, ChatGPT 3.5, the one of the models. So quite a lot of responses. Nice. So ChatGPT is the biggest one on the screen right now. That means that a lot of you have typed that in, and that's why that's the biggest one. So lovely. And I think that's a great starting point. I'd be curious to hear what all you've tried and curious to see like what maybe like may not have worked out for you or something that you feel like, oh, I think I can do better. How can we improve? Those kind of thinking around that. Thank you for sharing, everybody. Okay, so now I want to know, what AI tool have you heard about but never really used? You're like, one day I want to figure out more. Or maybe you keep seeing a lot of people sharing a lot about this tool on, some of your social feeds. Or maybe you keep seeing it. Sora. All right. For those of you who may not know, Sora is the video model by OpenAI, which is also the company that makes ChatGPT. And in the beginning, Sora video capabilities were pretty scary, like mutations, and you could tell it was pretty natural. But these days, it's come a long way. So we're curious to see how it's going to be used. Midjourney, Firefly, that's a good one. CapCut, AI on Adobe. We have another one in the chat. Midjourney, note-taking, Luma AI. Okay, lovely. Note-taking. Note-taking, we have Shalom in the chat who is already taking notes using Otter. So I think there's another one, Fireflies. I don't think it's the same as the Firefly. There's another one that has a similar-ish name that also takes notes. Nice. Anything else that you've heard of? Yeah, any name that comes up, stands out, even if the name is not right, but you come close to it. Lots of Midjourney. Okay. Thank you for sharing. We'll just give you a little bit more if you want to toss in any other names. Gamma. Nice. Okay. It's nice to see where, your curiosity is at, and, you're thinking about, what is this about? Or maybe you want to try. I think what's cool is that a lot of AI, they can help us feel like we can be more creative and give ourselves permission to do that, especially things like oh, AI on Adobe or maybe like Midjourney, Firefly. But then there are other types of AI, for example, like the note-taking ones that help us feel more in control of the endless number of things that we probably have to do in both life and work. So very interesting use cases. So just to take us a little bit into like a brief landscape and the history of AI, AI may have picked up a lot in the news lately, maybe in the last 1 to 2 years, but the research and the origins can be traced back decades ago, around like the 1950s, when essentially it started out thinking, how can we create a machine that's like the human brain, or like that can be as intelligent as the human brain? And that's essentially where AI, the exploration began. Like, nothing has come close to the intelligence of mankind. So here, they were people exploring what would it be, what would it take to create that. So there were some very huge milestones in the realm of AI, because it was almost like an intelligence game for a very, very, very long time. So there used to be a chess champion. He was the world chess champion. And chess is a game of thinking. There's a lot of, mental thinking and rigor to it. If you've seen Queen's Gambit, that would have given you a little bit of insight about chess. And so there used to be a chess champion called Garry Kasparov. Nobody thought anybody could beat him, but IBM created a supercomputer called Watson. Sorry, there was another supercomputer that beat Garry Kasparov, and it left people shocked at that time, because he was the pinnacle of human intelligence, playing an elite game like that. But then if you have heard, there's this American TV show called Jeopardy, where you have to answer to a clue, almost like a question. So it's almost like a game of wits, and then you want to know like, oh, how much knowledge can I store in my brain? So people who really love like general knowledge questions, quiz, trivia would thrive on this game. So IBM, that computer company, built a supercomputer called Watson, who played this game with other humans and won against them in 2011, which is, if you think about it, 2011 is in the 2000s. It's, a little more than 10 years ago. And that was also a big deal, because internet and computing systems are not as sophisticated as now. And then after that, we have self-driving car technology. We're not yet seeing a lot of self-driving cars on the road, but there definitely has been improvements in like, oh, if this car has to drive on the road, what does it need to do? It needs to be able to compute a map, and needs to be able to see other cars and people on the road. So it needs vision, and it needs to be able to think about what to do when it encounters different situations as it's navigating the road, along with like, keeping an eye on like, oh, how much fuel does the car have? Do I need to change gears or accelerate, or, put the brakes? So things like that. It's pretty complicated what we humans tend to do. So it's very challenging to get any sort of computer to do it. So here we have finally arrived where AI is available for a lot of us to interact with, what typically used to be in just these companies alone. So in recent years, there has been so many advancements in data, computing power, cloud resources, and even people with investment who are supporting this field. So we've arrived at this place where all of us have all these apps to use in our daily lives. So that's, I think, pretty cool. I want to take you through like the types of AI. So when you look at any AI tool out there or hear about any product, you have a little bit of a sense of, oh, okay, this is how I would classify it. Not that you need to be super technical to do it, but you would generally have a sense of, if you know one, then you can navigate another one. So that will help you feel more confident in trying out new things. So the first one is what we call natural language processing. So this is where, like humans speak, and historically we would have to use computer languages, which read a little bit more like code to talk to computers or any sort of system like that. But these days, AI, ChatGPT, you can just type like you talk, and then it understands what you mean. So these AI systems are meant to interpret, generate, and understand human language, including like speech and text. So it can read like the subtext, maybe within speak in a full sentence, and it sort of knows what to do. And it also responds in somewhat of a human way, right? Historically, maybe we would just get a series of zeros and ones when we spoke to a computer, or maybe like an error, or maybe something else that's a coded output. But here, arriving where we can talk to it with ease is one of the greatest breakthroughs. So NLP is what we call like the more conversational style of AI. The next one is machine learning. I think these days, most AIs are constantly learning because they are upgrading and being better. They're given lots of new data sets, but it's essentially a subset of AI focused on certain algorithms that can learn through large amounts of data and improve at tasks over a period of time without any explicit like code given to them. So what that could look like is, I hate to say it, but everybody says Instagram has an algorithm, Facebook has an algorithm, and that eerie thing where you liked something and then it starts showing you more of that. So these are all like, learning through AI in some way where they're like, this is what this person likes, so we're going to show more of that. This is what this other person likes, we're going to show more of that. It can also look like, like we talked about Sora. And in the beginning, video capabilities were pretty poor for AI, but with more and more data sets, meaning like they were, this computer machine learning algorithm was given more videos to learn from and create, and that increased its capability at doing it better because it had more data to learn from. Essentially, it's sort of like pattern recognition and being able to repeat it in a generative way, meaning I've learned this looks like this, but so if I'm asked for something that doesn't exist, I think I can predict what it could look like. And that's what machine learning helps us with. And there have been some amazing use cases where, people are learning how to identify like diseases before it's even possible for humans to detect it, just because the machines are able to learn what the cells look like in a microscopic level. So I think some of the applications are pretty cool, but for us lay people, machine learning can apply to even like a small thing, like if you have been trying ChatGPT's memory, it's learning over a period of time from your own habits and behavior in interacting with ChatGPT. The next one is called computer vision. It's anything, like vision is sort of like eyes. So it's anything where the AI focuses on enabling like computers to identify, categorize, and process visual inputs. So images, videos, camera data. So I had some people, Sora is part of computer vision. AI on the Adobe Suite is part of computer vision. Midjourney is part of computer vision. So these all learn from visual things. So they don't really have like words necessarily. So the way they are interpreted is a little different. So like if you learn how to prompt for like say Midjourney, you can prompt similarly, though the model is different, the foundational elements is similar when you go on to using like maybe DALL-E on ChatGPT and things like that. So you might have to learn a little bit around the platform, but the foundation is very similar. Which is also why, like, when you go from, like, let's say, for example, Claude to maybe ChatGPT, it feels similar. The only thing is because the model is different, the quality of the output can feel different. So I have a little question, maybe like a trip down memory lane. When was the first time you heard of or tried AI? It's okay that it feels like a blur and you may not know the exact moment. Maybe think of like the brightest memory you have, or like a aha kind of a moment and be like, wow, like this really stuck with me kind of a thing. I love to hear. You can type it into Menti. 2022 December, 2 months before. You'll have to share more in the chat. What were you doing? How did it, shape your experience? Tell me a little bit. Share some stories. I have some people already in the chat. Oh, you use it to produce music. That is very cool. Pandemic era. If you want to add your answers to Menti, go to menti.com and use the code 59294300. When a friend and you wanted to seek life advice, your conversation, you ask ChatGPT. Oh, that is so wholesome. It's not a bad tool at all to interact with that way. 2 to 3 years ago, when you talk to Siri, interesting. Yeah, I feel like we started with Google Home, like Alexa and Siri, and then we thought that was so cool. And then now we have ChatGPT integrated, or some equivalent of that integrated into some of these systems, and it's just taken it to another level. Back in 2020 to create content for a client's website. Wow, what tool were you using for the content? 2019, your friend introduced to this and understand the history. Advancement in computing power makes AI possible. That's right. It's maybe nobody thought we would arrive here so quickly, but I think pandemic certainly accelerated a lot of things. Yeah, when iPhone had Siri. Yeah, I think that was pretty cool. Even now, Siri is even more powerful. 2023. Nice. Thank you all for sharing. We'll wait if anybody's finishing typing. I'm just going to wait one moment and then we'll see if there's any more stories and move forward. My first time using AI was, interestingly, I was interning in A-Star when I was younger, I think in JC, and then my mentor slash professor was trying to build a like a cat. So it was a plastic cat that was like this size, from head to shoulders. And it was supposed to be a tutor for kids. And we had to teach it, different topics that it would tutor the kids on, but we also had to train it to read human expressions. And then the third, we had to train it to respond, with the tone and everything. Obviously, I wasn't there for the full thing because I was still an intern and really, really young. This was probably in 2010. Yeah. And then I recall, part of the process, everything was so manual. We had to sit people down in front of a camera. We had to record them, and then I had to take that video into a software and manually spend hours and hours tagging the video, saying, oh, they raise their eyebrows. Oh, this means that they're curious. Oh, they changed the volume, or they changed the tone of their voice. This means this. So we had to manually do all of the video tagging. It's not as sophisticated as these days. And then we had to feed it to the cat through the computer programming. So that was my first instance of understanding what AI was, and I never thought this day would come. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so I think we know historically large companies with big resources have had AI capabilities earlier than the average individual. Like you and I are like average individuals. We do not have large company resources. So they have implemented it even before we could. So they, like Netflix, Netflix tries to figure out what kind of cover photos people respond to. So if you try to compare across Netflix accounts, different people get served different photos. So maybe, for example, if I'm more keen to open or click on videos that have like a model-like image, then it will keep showing me those. But then if I'm more inclined to do like a very graphic person on a very like design type of background, then they'll keep showing me more of those. And they also sometimes tend to change the descriptions based on what that person would respond to. So this is like AI being used at scale by Netflix. We also have, like Google Maps, we talked about Siri and Alexa. And then Amazon also, e-commerce is very common these days to have like recommended for you or customers also viewed, but Amazon popularized it by, like seeing how customers were purchasing and then reflecting that back and say, oh, if they purchased all of this, they're also likely to purchase this, and seeing those patterns and recommending it. So this was all happening before we knew AI as now. For us, with the rise of, when I say end consumer technology, it's more like ChatGPT, Claude. We have individual accounts. There's a free version, a lot of them. And if we want to, we can have individual like paid accounts as well. It's become easier for everybody to use AI. And I think that's very empowering. We're in a very exciting era. And I'm gonna share some ideas around why, we should start using AI for our work. No, it's not just to say, oh, I know this, so I won't be laid off. I'm sorry. But I think AI can be a co-pilot, a collaborator. Yeah, AI is now integrated in WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram. So if you just start typing, it's right there. So I think we are living in this reality where it's becoming more and more integrated. So it's only right that we get to revisit our workflows. One, to boost our efficiency. We can automate the routine tasks, and you can spend more time that's valuable for the really strategic or for the really creative type of work that you want, or slow down for only the specific things that you enjoy. And you can make the other things go faster with the help of AI. And you can also, like I said, not all of us are born super like feeling like I can do a lot of creative things. But I do believe that when we are like holding roles for certain work scopes, or, even as entrepreneurs, we need ideas. We need content constantly. So AI can help us with some of that in being able to share more ideas that we can start with. So it's like helping us get to that initial 20 to 30% before we go beyond that. And then the third one is we're always short-staffed, or maybe we don't have enough time that we wish we could spend with our customers. So you can really personalize customer experience at scale, like the AI is integrated into chatbots, or AI is integrated into like a customer service platform. And this can help with like giving people tailored recommendations to their questions or to their interests, support them. And this overall helps them feel like they had a good experience with your brand. And this will really help them feel like they had a positive customer experience with you. And that's a great memory and association to have as any organization. You can also make data-driven decisions. So like historically, I know I have experience working with a lot of teams where they have access to data, but one, it intends to be going through large chunks of data regularly. We are not data people ourselves. We do need someone dedicated to do it. But now we can use AI's help to analyze large data sets to see like, oh, what are the trends? What is the insight here? What can we learn from this that we can apply immediately back to our work and our business? It can also help us scale our operations. This can really ease the load on teams that are stretched thin. It can feel like it's a co-pilot. And so you can, like sometimes we don't always have access to larger amounts of resource to add new team members, but we can get some amount of work over to an AI to take the load off. And it can also bring in a little bit of cost reduction when you're thinking, especially for teams where you previously had maybe manual data entry, but now you can take a picture and ChatGPT will immediately write that or put that into like a like an Excel format, for example. And it takes a fraction of the time. Like before we blink and breathe, it's done. And then we can also stay competitive. I think in when everything is moving so quickly, it's easy to feel like you've been left behind as a business or as an individual. So I think this is an opportunity to stay relevant and know how to apply with ease and confidence in your industry and your particular line of work. So AI tools can be particularly transforming for under-resourced teams, small businesses, individuals, and entrepreneurs. It can feel like it's giving you the opportunity to level the playing field. Like, you can do more than what was previously possible when the team was small or the resources were strained. And I think this is the reason, like, I would encourage everybody to apply more in your work where possible and really dig into it as an opportunity to transform in this moment. So at Media House, we've been doing quite a lot of different types of things using AI. For example, what used to be like a website build with some clients, website is so complicated because there's, the whole design part, there's also the SEO part, there's the content, and then there's also like the project management, and sometimes because there's coding and other things, the development part. It used to take us months for some complicated projects, and we've been able to bring the time down to weeks. And that's amazing because then we're able to serve our clients faster. Like they don't have to wait so long, and they can spend the time on quality of like content upgrades to their website rather than feeling stuck and the website is not ready. And if any of you have experience creating landing pages for any like sales offers, or maybe you're running ads or creating like a dedicated page to share something about a particular campaign or an offer, what used to take us at least a couple of weeks, we can now get it up and running in as short as 5 minutes if I was really pressed. And I would get there in like, 60 to 80% of the way on some days, and sometimes a little bit more if I'm prepped. And we're talking like 5-10 minutes, and that's amazing because any new idea that we have, we can go up and running very fast. So this is including the design and the content. So it's very interesting to see how some of the AI has been helpful in that. And of course, the other thing is not all of us are super creative. And I'm sure you have read certain things either, when you're passing by on some social media platform where someone's written something using AI and it sounds really cringy. But let me tell you, it's also possible to write something that's so eerily human sounding that it works for some campaign materials. We're not saying that all of it is 100% written with AI, but if I can get there 60 to 70% of the way, and then we add that human layer of finesse on top of that, that's amazing because it is allowing us to ideate and test out things faster and arrive at the creative output that we want a little faster. And then I think anytime you're working with teams, different types of collaborators, there's always a large amount of information that needs to be captured. And as smaller organizations, sometimes we feel like we do not have the capacity or the liberty to slow down. That means that the knowledge and information lives in everybody's minds, and it's never documented. So this makes like moving projects forward challenging without meetings, moving, like onboarding, offboarding talent, because there's so much of information to be captured that it can be lost. So here we're able to like document the work, share briefs, or capture the nuances of, how we approach the work and did the work with very minimal effort. So these are all like some of the things that we've been trying at Media House. And if I would love to hear in terms of your personal work scope or your, like organization scope, are there certain things that come up to you in terms of, I wonder if we could do that? Put it in the chat, put it in the Zoom chat. I would love to hear if there have been instances of you wondering like if you can use an AI to make it better. It's okay that your initial attempts did not maybe yield like really, really, really high quality results. But I think what's important is if you're trying or if you're thinking about it, or maybe you even have an idea but may not have acted on it. What have been some things that you've been curious to try in terms of incorporating AI into your work? Company says if you use AI, you get sacked. Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, so I think different companies have different policies. And we'll dive into it a little bit more on some restrictions later. But I hear you when if a company is restrictive, I'm hoping that you get to utilize this in your personal projects or as a hobby. Anybody else? If you've been encouraged to use AI, we're seeing a lot of AI enhanced workflows these days and also AI enhanced roles. People seem to prefer hiring or maybe prioritizing being able to know how to use AI in some instances, even though it's not certainly like fully fixed. That could change because AI is constantly changing. Yeah, so put it in the chat. I'll keep reading. So, what are you curious to use AI for your work or for your marketing? I'd love to take some ideas. Even if you're not particularly going to use it directly, this is an invite because I'm going to take some of these ideas and use some of them to workshop later when I demo some of the tools. So put in some ideas, even if you want to try out later, because staring at blank AI tools is not fun. So yeah, so if you previously tried and the output was not great, share those too. I will love to workshop some of these today. Sales processes, cold call, emails, and offer ups. You want to use AI to convert pixel art into vector formats with one click. Ooh, I love that. These days, it's still not that easy. I'm surprised that we haven't arrived there yet. And we need like a little bit more prompting. But yes, I think it's possible. Any other ideas or things you've been trying? Many inaccuracies in AI, expensive to use, especially text to video or synthesia. I hear you. So yes, anytime you're using AI, we cannot take it as that it will be perfect. There will be mistakes, and that's okay. That's part of the process, which is why when we think of workflows, we will want to insert a layer of human oversight over these in key areas. Simple, no-code, low-code AI automation workflows and processes. Daniel, that's amazing. I think we have a separate event, a workshop for those. So Tay will put it in the chat or send it to you later. And I think that could be something that's very useful for you because we're going to use that workshop specifically to demonstrate and also help you ideate and create. Content creation. For the person who put in content creation, would you be able to share more on the types of content that you are thinking of? Is it like SEO, articles? Is it like video content and then you want a script? Or is it that you want maybe like a social media calendar? Or is it that you want to like cross post? So maybe you created an Instagram post and then you made it vertical. Video content. Okay, okay. So I'll be upfront. There will be some tools that I may not be able to demo because they simply take a lot more time to process, for example, the video content, but I definitely want to recommend some tools to try out. One of the tools that I recommend, if anybody is thinking of, is called Opus. So let's say, and it's very similar to what CapCut also has to offer, if you have a paid CapCut plan especially. So let's say you take in a long video, what Opus will do is it will analyze the clip and try to make cuts. So you can specify, do you want a square image? Do you want a vertical? Do you want a horizontal? Do you want a clip that's like 30 seconds? Or do you want a clip that's like 3 minutes? You can specify the length as well. So it will analyze the video that you've uploaded. So imagine that maybe there's like a two people sitting and talking to each other, and it's like a little mini podcast type of content. And then it will make bite-sized clips that potentially have the capacity to be trending or capture attention, because it will start off with a hook that will have like a grade, like how like how high quality is the hook based on the system that it analyzes. And then it can also automatically insert B-rolls and captions. So then literally all you have to do is, make any final edits, but that video is ready, and it can chop it up into so many pieces, and it has a unique angle to every piece that it proposes. So you just have to feed it one giant conversation, and then you get so many clips as the output. So that's something I would encourage you to try if you want to, and your work is video heavy. For sales processes, cold call, emails, and offer follow-ups, I may not be immediately able to show you today as well, because it's a slightly more complicated. I will chat with the team and see if we can set up like a custom event for this. But there are some tools out there that start with a free plan. And so I would recommend trying these tools out. There are automation sequences where you can set up like like lead enrichment, meaning that you have identified potential people, and then it will automatically fill in like, oh, this company, this is their role, this is the data, meaning like this is the revenue that they have, and who's a supervisor, who's a key decision maker, and then you can automate like cold outreach to them through a series of sequences. And then you can do like a high logic workflow, meaning, oh, if they open this, send them this. If they do not open for 3 emails, send them this. And you can even personalize it by scraping their, for example, LinkedIn, and writing a custom email in between that's extremely unique to every individual, but follows a general script. So that's something to explore. It requires a little bit of integration between the different tools, but it is possible, and it's very interesting. And if you are one of those people, you can email me or write to me later, and I can share more resources about this. Okay, so let us move forward today. I'm gonna have time to start with the 2 AI demos. We'll start with one conversational AI. And then I will ask your help to rank the Vision AI as well, so we can try out things together. So here on this list, we have ChatGPT, Claude. People have already told me that you know ChatGPT, you know Claude. So they're both like very conversational, can do a lot of like logic, and ChatGPT can do even data analysis. If you have not heard of Notion AI, Notion AI is sort of like that, like it's like it can do Excel sheet like things. It can do Google Sheet like things. But it also has a database. And then, like you can have lots of like, you can give it, oh, I wrote down notes. Can you summarize my next steps? And things like that. Or you can also ask it to help you like copyright in some things. Yes, if you haven't joined our Menti to Vote, go to menti.com and use the code 59294300. Gemini and Bing Chat are, Gemini is Google's tool that's a conversational agent, just like ChatGPT and Claude. Bing Chat, which is now, I think, co-branded to Copilot, is Microsoft tool, which is also the conversational agent. If I'm not wrong, both ChatGPT and Bing Chat, which is Microsoft's Copilot, can create images as well. Now, the first one that I'm seeing people have voted very high for, I cannot tell if you've heard of it before, or if it's because we've not talked much about it, but it's called Perplexity. And the interesting thing about that is Perplexity's biggest competitor right now is Google Search. Believe it or not, there's quite a few people out there who are saying this, and I have to admit I'm also one of them. I no longer default to Google search. Anytime you're stuck and you don't know what to search for, we say like, oh, I'm going to Google that. I no longer am Googling things. So Perplexity is an AI-driven search, but then you can also use it to shape other things. So I'll demonstrate with that. And the interesting thing about Perplexity is it has a lot of different models incorporated into it. So it has like OpenAI's, like the new model 4.0, I think. And then it also has like Claude's Perplexity, kind of like raw ChatGPT. I think they're different. You can also incorporate like Claude's model, like Sonnet and other things. But the key thing that Perplexity would help you with is like research. Think about it. Maybe there have been some instances when you're trying to Google something and then you keep clicking link after link after link, and you're like, somewhat there, but not quite there. How come it doesn't have what I need, kind of a feeling? And interestingly, Perplexity is able to land at what we're looking for in search a little better. So I'll teach you maybe how to do some research and some content using Perplexity. Gemini, Copilot, all making AI dumber as replacing humans too quickly. Not quite sure what that means, Ed. Maybe you tell us more in the chat. Okay, so it seems like we have 5 votes. If you want to, if you're in this room, I know there's more humans here, and you want to share what you want to vote for, I'm going to give you one final minute to vote. Go to menti.com and use the code 59294300. After this section, I'm going to go into demos to try out and practice prompting and using these tools. So I will try out the highest ranked. So in this case, it's Perplexity over here. So every vote counts. It could change also. So I would love to hear what's on your mind and come be part of this to shape what we're going to try together as a group. One final minute. Can't count how many there are in Strawberry. I mean, it has its limitations. I think a lot of conversational agents have become what they call as hallucinations, are not responding like the way we want them to respond. I mean, they're not humans, so they're not thinking about that. So that's there. And, with every model update, the prompts also have to change. Perplexity. Okay, I'm going to move forward in just a moment. So if any final people are logging in to vote, here's your moment. The next question I will ask is, what vision AI do you want to try? So be ready for that. You can vote for that. So I'm going to try Perplexity. Love that, you want to try Claude. If we have extra time, I might look into that. Thank you for voting, everybody. Okay, so which generative design AI do you want to explore today? So Canva has some AI tools, but if, I'm going to assume lots of people have access to Canva, you might already be trying it. It has like, the magic grab and like, change the background. You can also prompt images. Lots of people are voting for Midjourney, which is like you can ask for what you want to create on Midjourney using text, and then you can try different types of visual output. Framer AI is very interesting because it's a website builder, and with just a series of prompts, I can create a website or like a landing page, and it will be optimized for like a tablet and a mobile, and it can even have like copy that it will put in, thinking that it kind of knows what it wants to predict. Then you can, because it's AI, and you can test out different styles as well. So it's amazing for, projects that are picking up and you really want to get a website really quickly. ChatGPT has DALL-E. DALL-E used to be separate, but now they've incorporated into ChatGPT. So the DALL-E can also create images if you want to try. I can see Midjourney is the highest. So I'm going to give you just a moment more, and then I'll get ready to set up to do these. Thank you, everybody, for voting. And yeah, we're looking forward to some video tools as well. It will take a little longer to try, but there is this other tool called Pika. Sounds very cute. But Pika is an animator. So if you have images, it can animate those images. And they started off on Discord, just like Midjourney. So, this Discord is the fun version of Slack, with where like people who game, people who are on internet communities have like, something called servers that we are part of. And then Midjourney started off as a server. So I used to be part of Midjourney's like closed beta. And, it used to be just like, people would just stream in and there used to be endless chats of people just creating images. And it was so wild because we've never seen this happen. And there were also fewer rules on what you could create on Midjourney. So there was quite a lot of like violent, gory things over there back then. But these days, a lot of AI have a lot more compliance for everybody's safety to roll out as they reach more people. And Midjourney now, you can do it on Discord as well, but they have a standalone platform. It's an alpha, meaning that the platform is very new and they're rolling out to its users who have created a certain number of images so that they can test out the platform. So you'll do that with me today. So we'll do Perplexity and Midjourney. Thank you everybody for voting, and I'm going to request for a 5-minute break. You can take it as a get up and stretch kind of break so that I can set up these tools, and we'll be back in 5 minutes to walk through the demos for this. Okay? Give me 5 minutes and we'll be back. See you again. Yes, at 3:56. Okay, I am back. I'm going to share my screen for Perplexity. Give me one moment. I hope you are back too. Okay, give me a thumbs up. Is Perplexity free? Good question. They have a free plan where you can have a few free searches every day. Hi, welcome back. So this button right here, Pro, is for the paid plan. And I'll show you just a bit on what it will do. So it's very interesting because on ChatGPT, a lot of the questions are so there's lots of features that they take away. So if you want to attach things and set a focus for your searches, for example, you need a paid plan. So and quick tip, don't subscribe to things just because you like them, and because a lot of these subscriptions really add up. See if you can share subscriptions among friends, or maybe just do like a 1 month trial, but not all together. So then yeah, so do like a trial for 1 month and then see if you want to continue it. So it could just be budgeted that way. So yeah, so here I'm going to use all of the internet, but you can also see on Perplexity, you can set a focus, like math, video, social, writing, academic, and you can attach things. Sorry, you can attach like PDFs and documents, images, and other things that it can read, which is very helpful when you are trying to give it more context. So for today, I'm going to maybe take the example of, let's say, maybe a sustainable fashion person who's looking to create more content for their website, and they want it to be SEO driven. But maybe they want to do like some collaborations with other brands. So let's say, give you context. I just picked it out of thin air, but if you have any other ideas, please put it in the chat. I will gladly workshop some things around it. So let's say that, the needs of a sustainable fashion business is that they will be fighting against larger companies like Zara, Mango, all of those things, Shein, and they cannot fight for scale. They cannot fight for variety. So what they will do is a values-driven sort of connection with their audience. So maybe I want to research what the audience really prefers. And so let's say maybe this is cheaper to get clothes in Singapore that's thrifted, or maybe you how to hack competition websites. I'm not sure I fully understand. So we'll go with this line, and then later you can tell me more details in the chat. So yeah, so we'll go in that direction. So think about it as my first phase is research, because I'm trying to understand the customer. The second phase is ideation for content. Maybe I want to generate leads because I want to create a guide for something, and maybe people will leave their email address if I put that guide on my maybe my website. And then third is, like a little bit of writing for that guide itself, or for SEO, for example. So let's see how far we get. So let's say the first thing is I want to understand people who are into sustainable living, and particularly sustainable fashion. How does that intersect with fashion values and sustainability values? What other value systems are at play for them when it comes to making purchasing decisions? what can you tell me about the differences in thinking across different age demographics? Okay. Not very clear what I'm going to do with this yet, right? But as you can see, let's say I have an idea, or maybe I want to connect more with my customers. This is the line of thinking we would encourage, where we can't connect with them if we don't know what really matters to them. So here, my query is really trying to think about what's going to matter to them. I have turned on Pro, and then I'm going to hit Go. So as you can see, Pro Search is doing multiple steps here. And it first search information about people who are into sustainable living. And when I click this drop down, you can see the searches that it did: people into sustainable living values, sustainable lifestyle preferences. And these are all the websites that it researched. And I would say, like, okay, the United Nations, BBC, CBS, fairly reliable information. I'm not sure about this, but we'll see how it goes. The next step that it did was it looked at a search for information about sustainable fashion and how it interacts with fashion values and sustainability values. So again, it did the same thing. It did a couple of different searches to collate the responses. And you can see a lot of these, like Bain, they're all consulting brands that have these content that it has researched. So actually, if I click on it, I can click through to that article if you're interested in double checking or reading the full articles. I would always recommend, especially during research, it's important to make sure that what we are receiving is credible and not something that is just made up. You never know. It can sound very convincing, but it's important. This is a layer of human intervention that you have to put in. The next thing it did, this is why it's Pro Search, which is, I say it's a co-pilot, because my ask was multi-step. I didn't have any one particular thing, but it's mixing a lot of these queries in the ask. So here it searched for information about the value systems at play for people who are into sustainable living when making purchasing decisions. So again, it has a whole bunch of these research and other things. It's doing its own thing. As you saw, I didn't choose I want research, but it decided that it's going to pull me information from research data, which is very nice. When you're making business decisions, research heavy things are always helpful for us to make informed decisions. So the final thing it did was search for information about differences in thinking across age demographics when it comes to sustainable living and fashion. So this was my big ask, and you saw how it broke it into 4 chunks. So it was able to figure out, actually, they're not related. Let me break it down into 4 things. And for each of the 4, you can see what was the query that it did and the links that it looked for. And very interesting that and then here it will credit all of the sources. So it has the credit list number that is 1, 2, 3. Again, we can have all of these. You can copy it together if you want to, but you'll see the reason why the numbering is there is very important. So now let's read at what the answer is and how it structured the answer. Here are some key insights into how different age demographics think about sustainable living and fashion. Okay, Gen Z, 1997 to 2012. And strong voice for sustainability and stated as an important value more than any other generation. And it's very helpful to know. Like if I'm considering setting up something like a social media content or web content, then maybe if I'm building a community around it, then it's important for me to know who might be my primary audience. So if Gen Z is stating it as the most important, that's interesting for me to consider. And then it has this number. So it's very clearly linking to which article that it's deriving this from. And this is what you need to be double checking. If you end up making any decisions based on this or incorporating this into maybe other pieces of content, here's where you're going to click through, read that article, make sure it's there and it's intended to be used in this way, and then just do your double checks. So Gen Z prefer to buy sustainable brands, willing to pay more for sustainable products. However, interesting, it has an intention gap when it comes to sustainable fashion. While they say it's important to them, Gen Z are also biggest consumers of fast fashion. That's so interesting. So if I was a fast fashion, like community builder, this is very interesting for me. Maybe I want to angle this, this insight. It's almost like a human truth, like that I don't want to like say out loud, right? Like it would feel really weird to call out, and I would just be like, oh, I don't know if I should say out loud that I care about sustainability, but I've been buying from Shein. I don't know, right? And then so maybe I want to create a community around it. So here I'm just evolving as I'm reading through it. So the main reason seems to be affordability. Of course, they're the youngest generation. They're still learning to put money in the bank and build out their lives, and social media influence. So there's a lot of like trends that they're following. So I feel like that's a great summary for me to start getting to know them. Then there's millennials. It says the 57% say it's important. Millennials came of age during the Great Recession, which made them more price conscious. Okay, the gap between sustainability values and purchasing sustainable fashion, which tends to be pricier. So they're telling me some insights, which is interesting. Gen X and baby boomers, older generations seem to be least concerned about sustainability. And then while the small percentage prioritizes sustainability, their actual purchasing behavior more closely matches their stated values. What they're saying is, even though there are fewer people who say they care about sustainability, they're saying that those who say they care are actually following through on that and choosing sustainable options and making it a priority. They're more consistent in that. So if I have a community of people who are from this generation, Gen X, then I can expect that they will act on their stated things. So then different factors. So it's very interesting, right? So I can share this if I wanted to. I can rewrite it if I wanted to, but because this is research, I'm not asking to rewrite. This is copy and this is edit the query, like my initial thing. So here you can see it says Claude 3 Opus. This is the model that I have set for this. There's also another button up top here that says convert to a page, which is, it's almost like creating like a shareable page without the query. I'll show you at the end. And then, it will just feel like almost like a mini website when you share it. And then it has a couple of share options here. So who can see it, and it automatically copies the link. So now, interesting. If I want to continue from here and shape it, what do I do from here? Let's say I want to create a content plan or something like that for social media based on this. I do need research to create a content plan. So I would say anytime you're creating some form of strategy, content plan, give me ideas, always start with research, because that feeds into a more thorough, like, okay, so this is an understanding of the audience that feeds into this plan of action. Otherwise, they might feel a little separate. That's my suggestion and why I started off on Perplexity for that. So here now, again, very interesting, just like Google search, it says, these are all related. Do you want to know how do sustainable fashion enthusiasts balance style and sustainability in their purchasing decisions? I thought that query was very interesting because potentially maybe the Gen Zs, they want sustainability, but they also have the affordability needs. Maybe my guide can be about balancing style and sustainability. So I might want to get ideas for that. So I'm going to follow up for that and say, I want to create a guidebook, like a downloadable. Notice how I'm not typing anything that's very jargon heavy, meaning like I'm not saying I want a lead magnet. This is all like, we might not always have the language for what somebody specifically in the industry might be calling it. So I want you to see how you can work around those terms and build your prompts around it. So say I want to create a guidebook, like a downloadable that I can put on my website. I am a youth collective and community for sustainable enthusiasts. And then I'll say, I want to get more Gen Z folks involved in my community. I want the guidebook to be about sustainable, to be for sustainable fashion enthusiasts on how to balance style and sustainability in their purchasing decisions. Before we work on it, can we jam a little on the moral dilemma and the emotional states this audience might be in and potential content angles for the downloadable guide? So when you type in prompt, don't just say, I want a guide, make it. Like, I'm sure that when we communicate with each other, a lot of times, especially if we are on experienced teams, and let's say you and I have been working for 5 years together, and you come to me and you say that, because I get the benefit of having known you for that many years, I can probably guess where you're coming from, where your headspace is at, what you're trying to suggest with just that one line. But this AI has no context of what you're thinking about. This is why I need to really break down everything step by step and say, okay, this is, yeah, I probably want to think about this. And maybe before that, I want to think about this. And I want them to, like if it's emotional for them, then it probably matters. So I want that to link to the content angles. Like a downloadable guidebook about balancing style and sustainability can have so many angles, so many key takeaways. It could be like a list of places in Singapore that will help you achieve style and sustainability and balance. Or it could be maybe like a emotional guide workbook to work through money values and work in sustainability values. Or maybe it could be like a collab with an influencer who shares experience and guides people on how to make decisions. So as you can see that of the content, it can be so different, which is why before I even commit to any one angle, I'm going to say, okay, I want to jam about it. But because I need a little bit more data to make that decision, I'm also weaving in some parts of the research to move forward from above. So again, I'm going to hit go and let's see what it does. So it's breaking down the ask again into multi-step because I have this turned on. If you don't have the pro thing, it will just do one step at a time and you can work through it accordingly. So let's see what the answer is. So affordability, trendiness, there's pressure, convenience, it's everywhere. So how do you overcome that? So your guide should acknowledge this tension and provide realistic solutions. So I acknowledge that. It's often in conflict. The world is not as easy and black and white to live in. It's very nuanced. So emotional states. They're passionate and determined to make ethical fashion choices. They're experiencing a lot of guilt over purchasing unsustainable items or supporting unethical brands. It's only human. They have frustration because, how do you find something stylish and affordable so easily? They're overwhelmed because, fast fashion has a big problem and can one person really make a difference? And they want to know more and do more. So there's that desire. So the content should meet them where they are emotionally. So you can see how this is almost like a co-guide for me. and sharing like, oh, validate their concerns, provide encouragement, offer concrete steps. And now as it's saying in my head, I'm thinking, I wonder what tone I should take. Should I be their Gen Z friend that's talking to them in their lingo? Or should I be like the mother goose to all of them and being soothing and nurturing? Or should I be very matter of fact and say, we can get over this? I don't know. So let's read some content ideas and angles. Structure, it's also giving me ideas for structure. So it says, acknowledge the dilemma upfront. Discuss the challenges of balancing values and realities. Provide education on the issues. Offer a sustainable fashion mindset reframe. Help them see clothing purchases as long-term investments rather than disposable items. Give practical tips for building a sustainable wardrobe. How to assess the ethics, sustainability, affordable, sustainable fashion brands. Provide guidance. Include inspiring stories. Create a sustainable fashion starter pack. Discuss ways. I feel like all of them are really good ideas. And you can tell when you read them that people might be at different stages of their sustainability journey. People might be at different stages of their sustainability journey. So for example, someone who needs practical tips for building a sustainable wardrobe may have already, like processed the dilemma and the emotional challenges of trying to balance the values. They're at the take action stage, whereas some people might be like earlier, who need a little bit more like, oh, I need to work through the sustainable fashion mindset reframe, right? So and then people who already have done done the thing about like, purchasing essential fashion items, maybe they are now ready to advocate within their communities. So I need to figure out and get AI's help to figure out like what part of their emotional journey or like their journey in sustainability they are. So I'm gonna ask it to classify those ideas accordingly and say, hey, can you classify these ideas based on how far along they are on their journey in sustainability. I want to be able to figure out who might be the most relevant person in the specific journey who might be keen to download a guide and join the community activities. So let's see what it says. Okay, so it's going to classify. So this is different from a marketing journey and a funnel. So this is just talking about sustainability journey. If I'm trying to figure out like, oh, do I want to put an effort to create this guide? So who should I be targeting really? The one thing I will tell you when you're creating any form of content or any other things, if you speak to everybody, you speak to nobody. So like when you're making decisions, think about how can I use all of these things in my decision to create a piece of content because we're already at capacity. So folks that are just starting to explore fashion. So yeah, these are all the people who need a lot more guidance because there's so many newer choices to make that they may not feel prepared enough. Then there is the intermediate stage who are people who have started making some changes but want to deepen their commitment by either showing up more or learning more. Then they are the advanced stage who have made significant changes and are looking to share more and guide more people who are finding it challenging. So these are sort of like the advocates of the group. In terms of who is most likely to download the guide and get involved, it says beginner and intermediate are probably your key audiences. Beginners will be looking for an accessible starting point and simple steps, and intermediate folks are looking to deepen their knowledge and commitment. And it has a reason. It says the advanced group might still be interested, but they'll be more likely to be drawn to an active community and leadership opportunity. So not so much a guide. They want to be the guide themselves. So this is what it says. And it's suggesting ideas. So I like the concept of this. I think I'm going to do the offer a sustainable fashion mindset reframe guide. So here's the part where we took, we started off up front here with like a very broad query that starts off as a little bit of research. And now I'm using the same thread to start off shaping that idea into some form of content that I can then figure out a distribution channel for. So yeah, I might even still be unsure about how to do this, right? So then I can ask straight away. I'll say, okay, maybe I'm interested in this. Before we jump in, can you help me figure out a distribution plan, right? So let me ask that. We are at the cusp where I'm going to show you how we can dig into write sections of this. But before we do that, I would also love to show how you can strategize even further for more clarity using the same thread. I really like, and this is another tip, tell the AI what you like, what you want more of. Tell the AI also what you don't like and what you don't want more of. So then this is how it's learning in the same thread. Okay. So here I'm going to say I really like the mindset reframe guide for beginners. I want to work on that for a Gen Z audience and make it fun. Meme meaning lots of memes, and easy for them to feel like they can enter this new headspace. Before I create the content, I want to figure out how to distribute this content digitally so I can reach these people. Can you share some ideas on how I can create one resource and repurpose? Again, so this is more of like I want to create one thing and then I want to keep resharing it, so I don't have to feel like I'm stuck in the cycle of recreating more and more and more content pieces. So that's how you really make your content stretch further, because you're repurposing it, you're taking like, sometimes a longer chunk, sometimes a smaller chunk, and you're able to put that in different places. So here, same thing, it's doing these searches and it's doing these readings. Look, already I said meme culture, and you can see some of the things on the right have like the very Gen Z type of vibe on the right. So one thing, it says create a PDF ebook, use the casual tone, incorporate memes, graphics, break it into bite-sized social media content, and then develop an email series. All of these are quite fun. And then transform the guide into a multi-part email series. I think that's a really nice idea. It's the same guide, but broken down into 2 parts. So one can be mindset shift, include memes and tips, and then the link to download the full guide. You can promote this on these channels, and then create shareable infographics, host Instagram live or workshop, run ads, pitch to sustainable fashion influencers. Okay, so I feel like a lot of these are doable. The only thing I would say is I'm not going to do like the ads. Let's say I'm not going to do ads. I just want to do all the other things. So I still don't know where do I begin, right? So you can, if you're feeling overwhelmed with so many ideas, you can always ask AI to organize and create a plan of action for you. So say, I love these ideas, but I don't think I'll do what is it? We're not going to do ads or the pitch to an influencer, but I'm keen to do the rest. So then I will say, I need help organizing these ideas to help create a plan of action that is efficient. Where do I begin to create the content so that it can easily be reused for the other actions? Just ask. Let's see what it does. Okay, so now it's giving me a plan of action. So let's say we've spent about 20 minutes workshopping this. And typically we might take half a day, one day, sometimes a few weeks before we arrive at certain ideas. And with this, if you have a team, you can just send it to your team and get them involved. Even if you don't have a team, this is something that you can start from here and go, okay, here's how I can move forward from here. So create the core book, ebook. And then develop social media assets, and then says after this, do the email series. And then after that, plan the workshop and then promote. So it's pretty much like telling you what this, and then it says, remember to track all of this. So let's say at this stage, you are not sure how to track downloads, email signups, engagement, you can ask it again. So now you're probably wondering, this really, Anya, sounds like ChatGPT. So what really is the difference? The difference is that every step of the way, it actively researched and it has resources to share, like here, right? It's mixing and matching so many content sources. But on ChatGPT, even if it were, all of that is very invisible. So here's an opportunity for me, while my core focus is this content that's about sustainable fashion, I can take side dives and learn about how to, do digital downloads or sell things. And this is enough to get me started to know like, oh, this is a part of the pathway that I want to walk. And it's incorporating all of this actively into these things. And you can see that all of these resources are being put to use. So in this is Gen Z Marketing 2024. So for example, how do I know if it's not actively browsing on ChatGPT, whether it incorporated 2024 statistics and ideas? So this is an interesting way to incorporate research and shape some of these activities. So let's say before we wrap up Perplexity, I just want to create like maybe an introduction. And so you can see how I would change the tone of voice. So I'll say, okay, that sounds good. And then I'll say, that sounds good. I want to write an intro to the guide. Please suggest a fun, honey name and writer. Welcome chapter. Welcome page. Okay, let's see. So you read it quite a lot here, right? In the same thread. Interesting. And that now, like the sort of like things that it has brought up in the imagery is also very useful. Look at how it's included like meme elements. I don't know what the symbols are. Let's read it. Hey there, eco-fashionista. Welcome to your ultimate handbook for rocking killer looks while loving on Mother Earth. That sounds very cringy, doesn't it? I don't know about that. Are you interested to join the sustainable fashion revolution? Want to slay the game without slaying the planet? Are there any Gen Zs in the chat? Can you tell us if this is interesting to you or not? Or is it cringy? We'll dish out. Okay, so the biggest question I have is what are the symbols? So I'm gonna ask. What are all the symbols? Example. I don't even know if it has an answer. Nah, it's not really giving me any answers, but let's see. Okay, I might want to do without the Mimi stuff. So let's say we stop this response, was not interested. So when we go back here and say rewrite. Actually, I'm just gonna ask it to help me rewrite the intro. Please rewrite the intro. Use less emoji and symbols. Make it a warm, inviting, joyful writing that is very grounded and not so hype. So we can hold space for the complexity of emotions they are facing. Let's see if that works. Okay, so you can see how immediately the tone is so different. So maybe Mimi is not the way to go. And the quickest way you will know if you're not a Gen Z, I don't identify as Gen Z, is by actually showing them the introduction and going, which do you prefer? So if you have access to that kind of community, always get feedback because it's created using an AI. Again, this is one of those things where you want to create a level of human oversight. So humans want to connect with humans, and if I've created this guide as a way to connect with another, like human to create a community, I really want to know if this is inspiring them or helping them connect. Apart from, hello there, conscious fashion seeker, I don't know if I would resonate to that. I feel like everything else is really nice. It's really nice to read. Like if you're here, you probably care deeply about both fashion and the future of our planet. You dream of a wardrobe that makes you feel confident, creative, and true to yourself, while also being kind to the earth and the people who made your clothes. That's right. That's the kind of energy that we're going for. And so it's very nice to read. Like that's why we created this guide to offer a gentle, judgment-free space to explore what sustainable style means to you. It's really nice. It's warm. It's inspiring. And you can see how different the tone is from up above here. Like game-changing mindset, total blast. It's very different vibe, right? And so you can see how I tried to, like, it's not a one-word tone of voice choice. I tried to create a series of references, and then also my reasoning behind why I'm asking this. And then you can use this as the guide to create every other section from here. So that is how, one, in a nutshell, you can use Perplexity for a wide range of things. And, it's very smart in incorporating research, because now as you're writing this guidebook, here's where you probably also need to keep doing research for the different sections of the workbook, right? So you want to continue creating the sections here. And then it's pretty versatile, I would say. And then you also learned a little bit about how to prompt and change prompts and what happens when you get answers and how do you shape and mold them, and a little bit about walking through like a AI enhanced workflow for marketing if you're creating content, going all the way from research to strategy and planning and then going to the actual execution. Before we wrap up Perplexity, I'm going to invite you to ask me any questions. Please put it in the chat, or you can ask me later. But I hope this was a good experience and interesting to see how you can do so much using this. Or even put in anything that you found interesting as part of the exploration. What did you learn? Was there anything new that was interesting, or what was something that you thought you could keep trying on your own? Put it in the Zoom chat. Any questions before we move on? Questions? Okay, I will keep watching, but now I'm going to go to Midjourney. So give me a moment to reshare my screen. One moment. Are you seeing my Menti or are you seeing my screen? Are you seeing Midjourney or are you seeing Menti? Give me one moment. Let me get that screen back up. You're seeing Menti. Okay, okay. Give me one moment. Midjourney. Let me get that. Okay, I think I found it. Okay. So here you're seeing Midjourney. It says Midjourney Alpha. I've created a room here for our Go Digital ASEAN, which means that potentially if you had a Midjourney account, you could also join this room here. I'm going to walk you through the platform and share like what all is possible, and then do a few prompts. So firstly, when I go, it was go to the explore page. And then here you can just scroll through what other people are creating. So here you can see on the top, you can see like, oh, I can just say random. That means random from anytime. I could say hot because hot means people are voting it, like liking it. I can see top day, meaning like what were things that people really, really liked from today that was created. And then you can even say top week, top month here. And then you can see likes, which is like things that I have personally liked here. And so you can see there's a very specific style that I might be going for potentially. So let's say that we are going into hot and I really like something, but I don't know what to do yet. One thing that you can do is you can click into this image. And when you click in, you can see who the user is. If you click on that, you are taken to their sort of like their public feed of what they have generated, which is so cool because you really get to see where people started and where people ended. So here, the lower down is the, like the older ones, higher is the newer ones. So you can see this person started off with this sushi plain image and it felt like a wrapper on top of the plate. But then they creatively like workshop their prompts all the way until they arrived here, where it looks like this plane is carrying like the sushi pieces, which is so cool, right? And you can really see how people workshop some of these. So let's say I want to close out this. I can do that. Again, let's go back to this and let's see what the prompt is looking like. So here it says a pink shop in the shape of clouds with windows on one side and a fluffy pink cloud roof. You're seeing all of these already in the image. Pink interior, you see. Black door, you see. Large glass front window in an Amsterdam canal street. Very, very specific. So the more specific you are, the more control you have over what you're creating, but you don't need to be this specific. And then I'll say fluffy pastel colored clouds around it, pink and white aesthetic, hyper realistic photography in the style of clouds. This is AR64, 63, which is sort of like the image aspect ratio that they are working with. So now I might want to try this. And so I can either use, see here, you can use the image as an image prompt, meaning like I can use this to, say I want this kind of shape, these kind of features when I use it as an image prompt. When I use it as a style prompt, it means that, oh, stylistically, I like the really hyper realism here. I like the pink, the black, the fluffy clouds, the Amsterdam Canal. So this is the exact style that I want to carry forward to something else. Then prompt means I can copy the entire prompt into the my next prompt. So when I'm unsure of what I want to create, but I just want to try out things, what I like to do is I just keep scrolling and then feel inspired by something, because the whole point of Midjourney is this concept of remixing. We might not get something very specific, but then you might get something that you can remix on and build. So example, I really like this thing. It seems like it's from some sort of book or a movie scene. And then there is this new token that Midjourney has introduced called Personalize. So just like you saw what all I had liked, I can go and rank images, and based on what I like and dislike, it will create a learning model that, you know, anytime a given prompt, if I use the token Personalize for myself, it will create images that I like. So in that sense, this person has personalized it to their style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this prompt depicting a serene scene of magnificent Harry Potter. I'm just going to change it like that. Polishing a galaxy brain imbued, polishing a golden snitch. I don't know what this is, so I was just going to take it out with tender care. His focus is so intense that he is oblivious to who's watching from behind. Heck, isn't that the name of the owl? The snowy owl watching him from a nearby window with a look of on its face. The soft glow of the golden snitch infuses the scene as if Harry's devotion is a labor of love. Okay, I'm going to retain the rest of it, and then I'm going to go to the end, and on my keyboard, I'm pressing enter. So it says submitted, and as soon as you do that, you can see how it's gone to create. So if I click here, you can see that it is creating things, and you can see this is the prompt that I used. I can use the prompt again. I can rerun it. I can cancel while it's creating. And you can also see that I can open in Discord. Let's wait for these to create. And while we're waiting, you can see what all I had created. It's called organize. And if I was more organized, this would, you know, really show you more things. But if I can show you only the things I have liked, meaning like, oh, these were things that I really liked creating, that I have liked, but I might not have typically liked so many things. Unrated, meaning these are all the things I have not given a rating to yet, but there's so many things I have made. Type grids, meaning like anything that was like a 4-grid. Typically what it creates is 4 images for each prompt. And then when I say upscale, meaning I want a larger version of it, I can choose which one. And so these are the images that I have particularly chosen to create larger versions of. And you can see if I want square ones, I can see which prompts were squares, which were landscapes. Which were landscapes and which were portraits. And then here, Midjourney is currently running its version 6, but it started off as, you know, like V1, V2, V3, which is the engine or the model, and progressively has gotten better at handling different things. But let's say there were some stylistic differences. The older models could do some things in a different style compared to the newer models. So these are all the things. Now it has created these. So let's go back to create so we can take a look. Can you see how close it is to what was the original prompt? And it's trying to guess at the style. So here it's, you know, on this image is slightly more photorealistic. it didn't quite understand what a golden snitch is. So either he's holding an ice ball in his hand or it's some sort of magic crystal. Let's see if it managed to get a snitch. Here, not really a snitch. It put an owl in his hand. So these type of things always happen when you are trying to create something. It will misread it. Now here it's better. It's not yet a golden snitch, but it looks golden in his hand, so I'll give it credit, you know. This is the one where it gets as accurate as possible because we know a golden snitch, it looks relatively like this. It doesn't have the wings out. And then he has a loving expression, which is what I asked for in the prompt. The owl having a look of adoration, I don't even know if that's possible, but it caught the owl and it has that warm glow and style. So we started here. The AI made he never watched Harry Potter. That's right. It's guessing at what these elements are based on the images that it was probably fed, but it's very confused right now. So then what you can do from here is, let's say, I like this because every other version of this was pretty poor. So I can say vary. When I say subtle, it will create 4 variations and try to retain some version of this. So I'll hit subtle. Then I will also say strong, so we can see the variation. Strong means it will try to make more changes, but in this direction. So when you are working with Midjourney, don't expect to create an image immediately. So usually you'll get a 4 tile, and then what the journey would be like is you will see which gets closer to what you want, and then you will vary subtle or vary more and go down sort of like that rabbit hole and exploration from there. Here is where you will also see, oh, you want to upscale it. Because they're all AI generated, the pixels are all created from scratch. That's why it's not the same as, I'm just going to an image resizer and making it big. So when it says subtle, it will try to retain the details. When it says creative, it adds more details. Then remix is like you can add a little bit more of a prompt. So see, you can like fine tune it, or maybe you want to retain certain things if you want to remix it in a stronger way. And there are other options here, meaning like rerun, saying that I would rerun if I did not like anything at all. Reframe, meaning like, oh, I want to make it like more like this. And it will try to fill in the section at the top and the bottom. Maybe I will do like a zoom out like this, and it will try to fill up the space behind. So I will hit submit, so all of that happens at the back. I will also hit repaint, and when you do that, you can select certain sections of the area to be changed. So for example, you can retain the prompt or edit the prompt. So say maybe like here, let's say white butterfly in the window. I'll do that. We'll see if that works. Okay. So there's so many options. So a lot of Midjourney is really one, either exploring curiously until you land on something that you like, or you have a vision in your head and you meticulously and patiently work towards that. And again, this use is, if I want to recreate something from my old library or from this, I can just use the style and prompt something new, and it will load up here, and I can type my new prompt here. If I want the same prompt as the base, I can load it and then add the image and then change up whatever I need to change. So that's a great way to start off when you are feeling a little lost. I will add in a new prompt, and maybe someone in the chat can give me a prompt to add in, and then we'll try that. But meanwhile, let me go to create and let's see what happened there. So this was the original 4 here. In this next version, it was a variation where you can see it is doing different types of things. It changed his face. In some, it changed his, like clothes. Here, he looks like he's holding a globe. Here, he looks like he's holding something else. This is like a fishing rod kind of spoolie. So some of it, like sometimes maybe you're looking for variations in something. Look at the owl. The owl has also changed. It's looking away in some, the facial expression has changed in some. What it has kept consistent is the style, like, that digital painting, the warm glow, the types of colors and the types of strokes. It has kept consistent, but it's changing the features to see what I like better. Here, you can see here it is keeping even the pose almost the same, but here it's changed up even the composition and the position. Like, like the left-right swap, the owl is in different postures. So this is the very subtle where it's making smaller changes, very localized to certain areas. And up top here is where there are broader changes that it's making. So you see, like in the background here, there's an owl in the window. And here, like there's a book here. Here he's talking to the owl. So there's lots of things that are happening here. So again, here, if you were just creating this for fun or maybe like a comic thing, this makes sense. You would just pick the one that comes closest to your story. But let's say if you were trying to create a banner for something, that might not really work and you might need to workshop a little bit more. And so here is where we did the zoom, where we zoomed out a little. To me, all of them seem a little strange because I'm like, if this is a table, why is he coming out of the table? Like, look at that. Where is the rest of his body? So you'll see, like while the upside is it's beautiful, you also have to be mindful of the things that it's creating. It like is not even like outside the window. So like we can't use this image unless you are intentional and you don't mind the humor of it. Here, I don't mind it because it kind of looks like he's in some sort of a chair here, and I can see some part of lower body, so that's not too bad. Yeah, so you can see here again the same weird logic of something's weird, his body's chopped off. Here you put an extra owl, something else. Look at the owl peeking from here. It's quite fun to look at it, but it can also be very frustrating if you have something extremely specific in your mind. Here I asked for a butterfly in the window and it did not make anything. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. But you can see that it kept everything else the same and it has tried to regenerate only that section. So now I'm just going to create maybe like one other style. And again, we're going to go to the explore page and see what style we like. So while I'm scrolling, I want somebody to type in the chat to see what image I pick to workshop from here. I'm going to scroll slowly. So type in the chat. What should I pick? Do you want to do food photography for maybe like Instagram then? That those shrimps look pretty good. Some of them can be like fantasy. Look at the unicorn. Some of it can be illustration. I don't know if these words read anything, so if the words are accurate or not, I'm not sure. What image should I select? Okay, let's try this. Okay, so I'm going to use the prompt again. I'm going to say, happy, cute duckling. I'm just going to say cat. And here, just as a final thing, you can shift like what the size of the landscape or the portrait. If you were doing this in Discord, you will have to do like the --AR34, something like that. But here you can easily choose because of the platform. So I quite like the portrait that it had. Stylization is like, like sometimes you get this feeling that it's from Midjourney. So it's very, very obvious. So we want to see if we like that or not. So if you can turn it up, it goes all the way from 0 like to 100. And then weirdness is like, oh, do you want unique things, like some unexpected outcome, something magical, something fantastical, or do you want to keep it more grounded? So that's a factor that you can control. Variety, meaning out of the 4 images, do you want them to be very, very, very different from each other or close to each other? The speed is pretty much like, depending on the Midjourney account that you hold, they will typically give you certain fast hours, and these are the ones where the image is created immediately, but then the rest is a little slower. It does take a lot of computational power to be creating these images. This is the personalized that I told you about, where it learns from what I like. So I've turned it on. You can also turn it off. Here's where you can choose the version of Midjourney to decide which model you want. So certain, like, for example, Niji is the one that gives you like very like anime, Studio Ghibli type of style, or like bitmap gaming type of vibe. Really good. The mode is also like where, again, different models will have different styles. So you can experiment a little, but there's no right or wrong here. It's really what you like. So we'll go to create. But while we're waiting for this to complete, anybody has any questions about Midjourney before we wrap up Midjourney for today? What did you learn, or what got you curious? Can you apply anything for any of your creative projects? Do you like that community of remixing and creating things? Any questions about Midjourney? You can see the images being formed real time, so that's quite cool, right? Yeah, so now it's done. And you can see you still prefer to create the printings by hand. Yeah, that is very different. So I would say try not to compare. The two of them are incomparable. Hand paintings are lovely. The process is very unique, and the joy of that is very different. So yeah, like they would make very interesting like little things to maybe incorporate into slide decks for like a teaching class, right? And they're very different styles. So then again, same thing. If you like all four or one of the four, you can either upscale it. So let's say I like this, I would say upscale it subtle by not adding details, and it will just make only that. So when you work on that, so let's say even here, I can download it, and it will get downloaded to my computer. But after you upscale it, probably it will have more pixels that, if you're projecting or using a larger screen, it won't look so pixelated when you use it. So a lot of it really depends on how you want to use it and what your creative ideation process is. So with this, we have come to the end of Midjourney, and almost at the end of our 2 hours. I want to do a quick recap of what we completed today before we all head off in our different directions. Can you all see my screen? Can you all see my Menti screen? There was still quite a lot of say, like, for example, Firefly, maybe someone wanted to try Notion AI, someone wanted to try Claude. So what I want to say is I'm really thankful we all turned up here. Tay will send a follow-up. We have a community platform where I've actually recorded all of these tools and working you through the different tools, including ChatGPT, Claude, Firefly, and all of those tools. So it's a pre-recorded video, so you can enjoy it at your own pace, and it's free. But for today, we managed to explore intro to AI tools and see like 2 varied tools at play. And I also was able to share with you like how to walk through the different prompts and like, in a practical way, if you were applying it to something more tangible as a project, what that could look like. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out either in the community or reach out to the organizers, and I will gladly support or answer any questions. If you are still on your Menti, I would love to hear if, what your thoughts were, if you enjoyed it. Are you excited to try out any of these tools? Did you enjoy learning how to prompt and think about, some of these things as you navigate processes? The first time, maybe when you try it, might have felt really unnatural. But after you try it a couple of times, it will feel very liberating, more curious. You can put it on Menti, you can put it here in the chat. Yeah, and I think for the workflow one, I also have a separate one that I think Tay put in the chat. I would love to walk you through it extremely specifically to your work use case. If you want to join us, and we'd love to support you on how to build tools around your workflow or even just use any of these. But like how do you think about navigating that? Thank you all for sharing. Yeah, and again, if you feel like you don't know how to type a lot of these, you can also use the voice function either on your device or on these platforms to talk to it. Remember that a lot of them are conversational agents. So just talk to it like you're talking to a human and they will respond. And as a quick way to wrap up, please share your thoughts. We would love it if you are able to help us shape some of these sessions. Someone had maybe like the idea of the sales one, and maybe if you have any other things that you feel like would specifically benefit from this, we would love to hear your thoughts on how we can shape these sessions to really create something valuable for everybody in the community. So you can take a picture of the QR code. With that, we have arrived at the end of today's session. Thank you so much, everybody. My name is Anya. Again, I'm from Hedge Media House. And if you ever are curious about any digitalization or anything, we also have other programs that we support or services. If you feel like you are in need of them, you can visit our website. Otherwise, you can connect with me. Here are my details. And I will see you all in one of the future sessions. Thank you so much for dropping by. Yes, so yes, we're at the end. And so if you want to stream out, definitely stream out. We have another session that's gonna go on about green business practices. So if you're keen, you can join that. That's happening right now. Thank you all. See you all at another session. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you.